I just want to welcome you all on behalf of Union Investment Companies today's seminar, The Human Layer in Security. There is not a single person alive who never makes mistakes. In fact, making mistakes is a core part of the human experience. According to a study by IBM, human error is the main cause of 95% of cybersecurity breaches. So why does human error cause so many breaches? What is human error in computer security? In a security context, human error means unintentional actions or lack of action by employees and users that cause a spread of or allow a security breach to take place. The intersection between technology and human security is a difficult challenge for any organization to tackle. And although detection technologies are advancing, criminals are rapidly evolving their techniques and tactics to even greater level of sophistication. Their attacks are difficult to detect, and even security administrators themselves fall victim. That's why today we welcome you all to join Javad Malik, lead security awareness advocate at KnowBe4, as he explains the value of better understanding human nature, patterns, and success practices when using technology to build a more secure operating environment. Here, practical advice on how to make both security and technology work with rather than against human nature to help reduce technology friction and simultaneously raise the security posture and the resilience of the organization. I will let Javid take you through the topic and cover this session, and he's going to cover it in this session. Javid, the floor is yours. Thank you.
No, thank you so much, Fadwa. Thank you for inviting me here. It's an honor. Welcome everybody to this session. I hope you're very well, and assalamu alaikum to all the brothers and sisters. So I will share my presentation here. And so cybersecurity and the human element. Now, when we think about cybersecurity, and when we look at movies or when we look at culture, we think of some people, they are really good hackers, they're behind keyboards and they're very fast and they can break into anything. But the reality is that, like Fadwa mentioned, the majority of breaches and the hacks that we see today are as a result of the human element. A lot of the technologies are very, very advanced nowadays. They're very good. So breaking through them directly, unless they've been misconfigured or unpatched, is difficult. So what criminals do, we see them going direct for the human. And if they can attack the human directly, they can really make a big difference. So I'm Javad Malik. I work for KnowBe4. I've worked in the industry for my entire career, 21 years now. So, and I've had a variety of different jobs. I've worked very much in the past on the technical side, and I saw all the gaps that were present on the human side, which led me here. And I work for KnowBe4. You can find out more about us later. So this is the cybersecurity golden triangle, how we're taught it in a theoretical sense, that security is made up of people, process, and technology. You need the right people with the right training. You need to have the processes in place, and you need to have the right technology in place. And all of these together, they support each other to make you, to give you a secure environment. However, the reality looks a bit more like this. It's a bit like a Mickey Mouse diagram, where most companies, they spend more in technology and less in the people side of things. And this is what the criminals look at, and they say, okay, if we can attack the people, we can be more successful. And we're seeing that happen very, very, in scary amounts all around the world. The cybercrime industry is some organizations, criminals, they make more than $50 million in a year. So it's a big issue and a big problem. So one of the first underlying things I like to talk about briefly is that of passwords, because this is always it's a difficult topic because everyone has their own opinions and different organizations implement it in different ways, but there's a lot of responsibility on the end user for passwords. And, you know, one of the first bits of advice I think that I received many years ago, which I think still works today, is don't think in passwords, think about passphrases. So if you have something that's a long word, a long phrase, a saying or a quote maybe that you like, a line from a poem or a song, then that will make a far better password than just using one word, which might be, you know, one of your favorite words. So something like this, a very long phrase, it's easy to remember than a long word, but it will probably be more secure. There are different websites out there. So one of the websites is Have I Been Pawned? The link is here. If you go there and you enter in your email address, it will tell you if your email address has been in any breaches in the past. So say you were a user of LinkedIn, and LinkedIn a few years ago that had a breach where all of the emails and passwords were stolen. It will tell you that, you know, your email address was involved in that one. And this is really important because what a lot of us do, we use the same password across different websites. So if a criminal gets your password, the first thing they will do is they will try that same password across different websites. So if I know that your password on your LinkedIn is butterfly, then I will try your email and password against every other single website I can think of. I will try logging onto your bank account using the password butterfly. I'll try logging onto your work email, your personal email, a PayPal, anything you have, I will try to log onto it with those credentials. So having a unique password is very, very important as well. So it's not just about having a strong password, a very long password, but having a unique password is good. Password managers or password vaults, they're very good. They do software, you can buy them, some of them are free, but something like this can help you generate a password. And then there's multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication. Some websites offer this, not all of them. Hopefully in the coming years, more and more will offer it because this makes it more secure to log on. But if the website you use offers it, then do take advantage of it. There's kind of three ways that do it. One is the simple way is an SMS message. So you log on and it sends you texts you an SMS, and then you put in that code, and then you log in. So it's something like this. You log in, it texts you the code, you put in that code, and then you can log in. The second way is sometimes you can download an app on your phone, like an authenticator app, like Google have it, Microsoft have it. And this has it has a code on it that every 60 seconds, the code changes. So when you log in, you look at your code and you log in at that time. So even if someone has your ID and password, they can't log in without that code. And the final one is hardware tokens that, you know, some companies they give to their admin accounts. So you need to plug this into your machine and have your ID and password if you want to log in. So without this, you can't log in. So all of these ways are kind of like, there's a cost associated with all of these, but it makes it more secure. It reduces the risk. So, you know, you need to work out, especially for like admin accounts, high privilege accounts, you might want to go for something more secure. And then for others, you know, for the average user, maybe you don't want to deploy something like this, but you want to give them the option of like maybe having an SMS code or something sent to them. Another thing criminals do a lot is they will look at social media and find out things about you, and they will try to get into your accounts by using the password recovery function. So if you forgot your password, you can sometimes click on a website and say, I've forgotten my password, and they will ask you some questions that you filled out when you first signed up. So they'll say, what's the name of the school you grew up in, or the school you went to, or the name of the street you grew up in, and things like that. So treat those also like a password. So if you answer them incorrectly, so if it say, what was your high school mascot? I'll put something like that down, like pizza, whatever. And treat that like a password, because those things are very easy for criminals to find, and they can use that to break into your accounts. So just to summarize, the password thing is like, use a passphrase, don't use a word, use something long. Try to make it different and unique for each website. If possible, use a password manager and MFA, and don't give truthful information in your password recovery questions. think one thing before we get into the nitty-gritty, it's important to just touch upon security in the home. And one of the things is Internet of Things or smart devices are everywhere. And this is a screenshot from someone that put something on Twitter that their fridge, where emailed them to say that you have been opening the door too many times. So they said, like, on average, you open your fridge door 44 times. And if you do this too much, it will reduce the quality of your fridge. And this is like, it's not malicious, but it goes to show how much information now these devices are collecting about you. So your fridge knows when you're home, how many times you're opening the door. It's got your email address. It's connected to your Wi-Fi at home. It's sending you all this information. So if someone gets hold of this information, what can they figure out about you or your home or your lifestyle? I think these are important questions just to bear in mind before we get a device and we enable it. Now, imagine in the workplace, we have things like, people have like Alexa or like the smart speakers, and they're always listening. So if you've got one of those in your boardroom and you're having private conversations there, how difficult is it for a competitor or somebody to listen in? A lot of these smart devices that we use, they have a lot of vulnerabilities in them, especially some of these cheap CCTV cameras or that you can buy online. There's lots of research that comes out time and time again that some baby monitors, some doorbells, all these things have vulnerabilities within them. So, this is just something just to consider, that when you buy something new and it asks you to connect it to your home Wi-Fi or your work Wi-Fi and everything, just think about it. Do you actually need it? Is it providing you with a functionality that you're actually going to use? Or is it just something that could be a security issue for you down the road? So, I don't see a need for my fridge to email me. So I'm never going to connect my fridge to my internet. I'm not going to connect my washing machine to the internet, but just so it maybe you would like that, but just think about it and understand the risks before you do. Okay, so the main issue, I think, what we see around the world is that of phishing, and phishing is where it's the most favorite technique by criminals around the world because it's cheap, it's easy, and it's very fast and very, very profitable for them. So there are different types of phishing that we see there. So spear phishing is a specific targeted email somebody will send you pretending to be like, a service or product, and they will try to trick you into clicking a link to download some virus or ransomware or malware. So this is an example. This is like an email. It looks like it's coming from LinkedIn. It says, oh, you recently requested a password change. Click this link to confirm or deny. And if you click the link, it actually goes somewhere else. And that other page will ask you to put in your LinkedIn email and password, and you put it in, and then it will say, okay, that's all fine. But in reality, someone's stolen that email and password from you, and now they're logging on to your account, and they might be sending spam or other emails to other people in your network. There's smishing, which is the same thing, but it's done over SMS. We say smishing over SMS, but it's also done over anything on your phone. So if you've got WhatsApp or Signal or anything like that, it's the same principle. They'll send you something, there'll be a link, and they want you to click on it, and sometimes they'll infect your phone and what have you. And phishing is the same thing, but it's just done with the voice. It's a phone call. Someone phones you up and they'll say, hello, I'm calling from the tax office, or they will say, I'm calling from the office of your CEO, and we need you to email us your financial records or employee records or something like that. And people often fall for this as well. So what we've seen is since the last year and a half, since COVID-19 and lockdown, a lot of people working from home, we've seen lots and lots of phishing attacks going on. I mean, it was already popular, but it's really, really gone up. And like, at the height of it, Google said that they were blocking 18 million phishing emails a day. So those are the ones they're blocking. There's still many that used to get through to people. There were things about the vaccines that were going around, or something about healthcare, or travel restrictions, all these kinds of things. Because everyone's interested in it, everyone's trying to get information, people don't know about it. so they'll click on anything. There's lots of things that we see even in the airlines that you don't even expect. Like here's something, it's like Qatar Airways, they're saying, oh, you've booked it. But if you see where the emails come from, it's come from Walmart.com. So you know that this isn't a legit email, but that's something that you have to look out for. If you're not trained to look out for that, you're just not going to miss it. You're going to say, oh, I didn't make this booking, let me click on it and make sure I didn't. And then it will ask you for information to verify yourself, and then it'll just steal that information and use it elsewhere. We've seen more like Arabic related phishing or scams going out. So there was a Netflix spoof that went out a while ago, and it's like, oh, here, log into this one now, and you log in and it takes your email address and password. And then they sold that data on the dark web to other people to watch Netflix for free on your account. Or again, if you're using the same password for this on other sites, they will use that elsewhere. And this was a really successful campaign in the Middle East. Kaspersky has published a report, and they showed that it's a massive problem. Like Saudi Arabia obviously leads, but there's no country that doesn't have it as a problem in the region. So I think it's important, like to have something like this this infographic, and maybe print it or just email something like this. It doesn't have to be this one, but this is something we have. But anything like this. So just remind people time and time again that, look, if you get an email from someone, look at who it's from, look at who it's to, look at the subject line. If anything feels like it's not legitimate or it's not expected, then report it to your IT team so that they can, or security team, so they can investigate it. Also look at the URLs that are there. There's lots of times they'll replace the letter O with the number 0. So it looks the same to you on the browser, but it goes to a different website, so that, or they'll use different language ones. So it's another thing just to be mindful of. Within this whole thing, I think disinformation plays a really, really big part, disinformation and misinformation. And so broadly speaking, there are like 6 different types of misinformation. There's the fabricated content, manipulated, imposter, misleading, false, or satire and parody. And all of these are very dangerous in their own ways. So, there are a few examples I found. So this is like an online scam where, again, it was more targeted in Arabic. And what this was offering was free gifts for you. And if you went on and filled out a little survey, they'll give you a gift, but you also had to forward the link to 20 WhatsApp contacts. So not only are they getting your information from you, but you forwarded it on to 20 of your friends and family. And now they say, oh, I know Jawad, he's trustworthy. He sends me stuff all the time. So they'll click it. And then this is how it spreads really, really fast. So it's not just about your own data that they're stealing, but think about your own role in spreading this information. So be very mindful, check up on what something is before you forward something on to like 10 or 20 of your friends and say, hey, if you do this, we can all win the latest iPhone or something, because that doesn't happen. And it's our participation that allows these scams to be very, very successful. There was, oh, there's a raised hand. Is there a question?
Yes, hi. Mm-hmm. I would like to know, in this case, when there's a link that's sent to me and they say you will win an iPhone 12 if you fill this and send it to 20 people. When I put my information as my name, my email, and my telephone number, what do they get from them? What is the purpose of them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So sometimes so there are a couple of things they can do for that. So a very low level action is they can sell that on for marketing purposes to other agencies. They can say, we have a list of 500 people in this country, and they will sell it on to someone, and they can then spam you with other information over the time. The other thing is that it could be used as part of a what we call a pretexting exercise, where they get small bits of information over time. So they will get once they validated your email, your name, and say your phone number, then they can use that to search out for you on social media in other ways. And I'll actually go into that a bit later as to how they actually build out a map and a picture of individuals. And the third one is sometimes there's actually a malicious link that they'll activate at a later date. So sometimes they'll take that data immediately, and then after a week or so, they'll send you an email saying, oh, to claim now that thank you for your gift, it's on its way, click here to download the tracking app or something. And as soon as you download that, that's where they'll infect your machine with some sort of virus or spyware. But,
okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jinan. Javid, you can see if you go over the presentation, and we'll leave the last 10-15 minutes for question. We don't go forwards and backward for question and answer.
Cool, we'll do that. So there was also this story, it was again another research firm. They found that there were some hackers in Iran, and they were using, they were some state-sponsored apparently, and they were using this tool to spy on like government agencies. And without going into the details of it, I think it's important to see the first two steps is like it's a phishing email they sent to the target. So even when we look at government or like agency-based or highly sophisticated criminals, most of the time, everything starts with a phishing email. So if we're training our users to be mindful of these emails that come in and not falling victim, not clicking on a link to download something, you can save a lot, because these things won't be detected traditionally by a lot of your email filters or your endpoint detection. So if you can cut that off, you'll stop anyone from being successful from targeting, government, finance, any industry you can think of. Brand hijacking is a broad term, and I think it's important to really understand this. So we saw last year, early this year, Twitter had a breach, and so some people took over some of the Twitter accounts of some famous personalities, or they set up fake accounts in other people's names anyway. So Elon Musk is a highly sort of like impersonated person online. And anytime someone sets up, normally what they'll do, they'll set up, say, a Twitter account, or they take over the account, and they say, I'm Elon Musk, I want to double your investment, send me some Bitcoin, and I will double it in value and send it back to you. And people fall for that kind of thing all the time. And it's really easy sometimes to say, like, why would anyone believe it? But, we all fall for these sort of things. And what they will do, criminals will do this not just for individuals, they'll also do it for brands as well. So they will send you a link or an email saying, hey, I'm from Apple, you're a valued customer, or I'm from, some whatever brand you like, they could be claiming to be that. On a more targeted level, what we see is people will claim to be someone senior within your organization, or your boss, or your CEO, or the head of accounts, or someone like that. And they will then say, like, look, I'm really busy, I'm about to get into a meeting, or I'm about to board a plane, but I need you to do this for me immediately. And we as humans, we respect that hierarchy, the superiors, when they give an order, we want to make them happy. So a lot of people fall for that, and they will whether it's a lot of times they will say that we need to change the bank account for where we make these payments, so it goes to a different bank account, and that ends up being like a big loss to the company. Sometimes if you're in a position where you have access to certain files, they'll ask you to send a copy of all those files. So they say, I need the HR records for all employees in the company sent to me now because I'm meeting with some auditors. And you'll be like, okay, don't fire me, I will send it immediately. And this is, I think, one of the hardest ones for people to say no to, because who wants to say no to their boss? It's almost as if, like, if my dad came over and told me to do something, I just say yes and I'll do it. I mean, I don't want to argue with him. I don't want to make him upset. So this is where having the processes in place within your organization are so important, so that one person can't just do something. So you don't want it to be that one person takes the order, inputs the order, and it gets executed. So having some processes in place to maybe segregate the duties. So I can maybe put a request in to make a payment or amendment to a payment, but then someone else in finance has to approve it, and they will do their own due diligence and checks to make sure that happens. Or they will say, well, how did you get this request? The request must come through the finance system for it to be approved. So don't do these things over email or over phone call. You know, so if you have the process in place, it avoids having that difficult conversation where you have to say to a superior, oh, you're not following the right process or what have you. But you know, you have those defense mechanisms put in place. And so a lot of times this is through email as well. You get an email from someone, and they can look on LinkedIn, they'll see who you are, who's your boss's boss, or all the way. And they will maybe reference somebody else and what have you. So this is called like business email compromise or CEO fraud often. And this actually costs organizations the most in losses every year. So ransomware is a common thing. People always think that costs a lot, but business email compromise is by far, it costs the most in losses to all organizations of all sizes. So this is something I think is probably the most important thing to be wary of, and have a discussion within the organization. And if possible, get your senior people involved in that discussion so that they know if they ask you for something and you say, well, the process should be through this, then everyone is understanding and supportive of each other. This was the latest ICT figures I could find from about Kuwait, but I think it just goes to show that, you know, it's a technologically highly advanced country. Nearly everybody is connected to the internet, and they have multiple devices. So if you think about it from that regard, the footprint of the attack surface is huge. So criminals will attack you at work, they'll attack you on your personal devices, they'll attack you in the home. So you need to be careful in every aspect. Deepfakes is another topic that is up and coming. And this is like where they use technology to make a video of something appear like it's, they manipulate it, some pictures, even audio. So if you do a search for Obama deepfake, you'll see that some people, they took on the left picture is an official video of Obama, and then they put it through the algorithm, and then they taught it to say some different words. And the one on the right is a computer generated image of Obama, and he's reading off a script, and it looks and sounds very, very similar to the real one. And they can do this with a lot now. So it's something to be very careful of. Here's a picture of a child. I think you'll agree it's a very cute child. But this child does not exist. It's a completely computer generated image. There's a website called thispersondoesnotexist.com. And if you go to that website, every time you refresh the page, it will generate you a new picture of someone that is completely fake, but they look very, very real. There are sometimes some things that are a bit strange on it. Sometimes the hair is not right, sometimes the eyes or something, but you can just generate a new one. And what we see is criminals are using things like this. They'll crop it and they'll make it a LinkedIn profile, they'll make it a Facebook profile, and you'll think this is a genuine person, and you know you can start talking to it, and they can use that to fool you. There's also audio deepfakes done. And what you can do is if you record someone's audio for like 5-10 minutes and then replay it to the algorithm, it will learn the voice. So then you can get the voice to say whatever you want. So if you recorded my voice now, you could then get me to say whatever, and it will sound like me with the same tone and voice and everything. And we saw one company here in the UK. They received a phone call. They thought it was from their CEO in Germany. They thought it sounded like him, and they made a payment because they asked for, and that payment went to a criminal account somewhere, and they lost the money. So one reason why the deception works so well is our brains are not like computers. You don't just patch something and that's all. Or you don't just tell something once and people remember it forever. Rather, our brains are quite complex, and you have to keep on reinforcing key messages, and you have to keep on reminding people of what to do. But even then, the way you and me interpret the world is very, very different. Sometimes you can get off an airplane journey or a car journey, and one person will say that was a very good journey, and the other one will say that was a horrible journey. It was the same journey, but it's how our brains interpret things. I love this phrase. I don't know if it works as well if English isn't your first language, but for me, it just like the phenomenal power of the human mind, according to research at Cambridge University. It doesn't matter in what order the letters are in a word. The only important thing is that the first and the last letter be in the right place. And I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me why this works, but it just works. You know, this is how our brain works. It actually filters things out. It's why if you're looking for a certain car, say you want to buy a new Range Rover, all of a sudden what you do when you're out on the road, you'll start seeing those Range Rovers because your brain is actively tuned into that specific thing. If you see a certain actor in a movie, you'll start noticing all of the films that they've been in, even the small parts. So our brains get highly tuned and highly accustomed to whatever it is, and everything else the brain likes to filter out. So that's why if we're not tuning our brains to look for these scams, if we're not tuning our brain to look out for these fake impersonators that are coming and saying, hey, we'll give you a new iPhone, you are going to fall for it. And so that's why if we continually repeat these messages, if we let people know, it's just like any good marketing campaign. Coca-Cola or Pepsi, they spend millions every year on marketing, even though everybody knows their brand. They shouldn't need to spend it, but they know that unless they keep on going at it, the brands do diminish in their value and prominence. And same thing with education and training. Just a few words on email security. And email, I think when you look at it, it's become the center of everyone's digital universe. Everything is linked to an email. If you forget your password, what do? They'll send you an email. When you book a ticket nowadays, they'll send you an email of the ticket. Everything's digital. So protecting our email accounts is the most valuable asset, because if you lose your email, then you've lost access to pretty much everything. And this is also the main door through which attackers will come through most of the time still. So, they'll take advantage of if you have a weak password, they'll try to recover it. They'll say, I've forgotten my password. They'll try to use those secret questions. They'll phish you. They'll create bad rules if they get into it so that they can spy on your emails. And if you lose control of your email, you've lost pretty much everything. So look into your email and know the process. If you do lose access to your emails, how do you recover it? And most providers will have a process in place. So things like Microsoft and Google, they have websites like pages you can go to, you can click on it, fill out your links, but they'll say, what was your recovery email? What was your recovery phone number? All those kinds of things. So make sure that that information is up to date. Same thing with your work process. Know how to report if your email has been compromised. Do it quickly. So normally we will just log on to intranet site and raise it. But if you lost access to your email, maybe you've lost access to everything. So is there a phone number? Is there a colleague you can get in touch with? Have those processes in place and know what you're going to do with it, and always report it quickly. Sometimes we think that it's not worth much, but it's surprising how many things we rely on for that. And it's not only that, it's if someone they just start sending emails out from your account, your friends will say, oh, I know that person, they're my friend or they're my family member, and they will be more trusting of it. And so what we see is, like, a lot of times criminals, if they can't break into a big organization, say they want to get into the bank, they can't get into the bank, they will send a phishing email to the wife or the husband of the bank manager. And then they will use that account to then attack the bank manager. So they'll look for the weak link in it. So there's very little difference now between the home and the work life. And those boundaries are very blurred. The last thing I'd like to cover is just the issue of the digital footprint. And just like, you know, we leave footprints, and if you're a tracker or something, if you're out in the forest or in the desert, you see footprints, a good person will be able to tell that, okay, this, you know, 3 people went by here 4 hours ago, and this is the direction they're heading in, and we can catch them if we want to. And this is how it works in the online world. What criminals use, and even good people use, is what they call is open source intelligence. And that's what it basically means is using everything that is publicly available to build up a picture of who you are, where you work, what you do. And it's so easy. I mean, and these are things we do as well. So if someone says offers you a job, what will you do? You will Google the company, maybe the manager who's offering you the job. Maybe you look on websites to see what are the reviews of other employees working in that place. Maybe you look at where the office is locating. Maybe you look at the satellite view to see what all the buildings are around it. So these are things. Or when you're buying a house, or I don't know what it's like. My parents' culture, they would do that if someone's looking to get married to someone, they'll become full-on investigators, and they'll try to search out, like, where's this person from, where's their family from, what's the background, and all. So it's these techniques, but it's much more organized for online. So what you see is, like, if you know someone's email address, if all I know is someone's email address, you can normally find out their full name from it. It normally has their full name in it. There has a domain information, so I know which organization you work for. And there are normally sometimes some online documents related to that organization there. So that's a good starting point. From there, if I know your full name, I can then search you on social media. I can find what groups you're part of on LinkedIn, what your work history is. Maybe I can even find out your physical address. From those things, you can spin out more. I can find out things about your phone number, your friends and family, any Google documents out there. And then I can also link it into any breach data, like I showed in the beginning, like websites like Have I Been Pawned? I can look at that and say, oh, has any of your information appeared in any breach data? So you can see it starts building out a really big picture really well. And then I can, like, find out additional email addresses that you might have, any other information. And this starts building up a really good picture. And criminals will sometimes spend months building up this picture of senior people and executives within your organization. And then they will do it for who reports to them and who reports to them. So that it'll take them several weeks to do it, but they have some tools that make it quicker. But they then know exactly who to attack and how to craft that phishing email or WhatsApp message so that it's got the highest chance of success. You know, the idea is that they'll take something that we think is insignificant, email address, phone number, we give it out, we put it on a business card and we give to people, but they can then spread it out and find out more and more. And if we're the type of people, and like a lot of people in the next generation, they're very open about sharing a lot of details online, you can find out a lot about people. Other things that are interesting, you know, maybe you've locked your data down a lot, but maybe your friends don't. Maybe your family doesn't. So a lot of times it happens where people don't post pictures of their children on social media, but their grandparents do. So, you know, it defeats the objective. So you might cover your past and not tell people where you work because you want to keep it confidential, but then one of your colleagues tags you in like, you know, you're having a party, an Eid party one day, and they tag you, I'm on with all my colleagues, we all work here, and, you know, it's posted online. So these sorts of things happen quite a lot. Even things like frequent flyer numbers. Sometimes when we're flying, people will take a picture of their boarding card saying, oh, I'm about to board my flight to wherever, wish me luck. And that's got so much information on it. It's got your frequent flyer number, your full name on it, when you're leaving, when you're coming back, you know, so there's all this information that we unwillingly give away all the time, birthdays, and a lot of this information is very useful. So if I now know that, oh, an exec is about, you know, flying off, and for a week they're going to be on holiday in some country where they don't have Wi-Fi access, then this is the perfect time for me to approach their organization and try to phish them. So I think education and preparedness is one of the best and only defenses when it comes to these things. Obviously, we need to have those technical controls in place, but we really need to get people aware and everything. And I think I like this analogy. Like, you know, we all have a daily routine of what we do for personal hygiene, for example. You know, you put on clothes, you have a shower, all these sorts of things. And I think the same analogy can be drawn to in a cybersecurity sense, that, you know, we have things that we can do on a daily or ongoing basis. So, you know, check emails, the sources, and for trustworthiness, as well as, like, you know, whether it's actually from someone, you know, is it someone imitating someone? Do you have backups of data that is very important to you? And do you know how to recover things if they get stolen? So, like, if your email address is breached, like, do you know how to get it back? Not only just using secure Wi-Fi, but think about what's connecting to your Wi-Fi. Again, this goes back to the Internet of Things and smart devices. Do you need to connect everything there? Consider your password authentication, you know, use a strong passphrase, use a password vault. And finally, I'd say, like, avoid really oversharing on social media, especially when you receive requests for friends and whatever you like. Really validate who it is and who it's not. Don't just accept everyone's request, because again, this is something that they use as a tactic. Because if you want to attack someone else, you might say, oh, we have a friend in common. And if you're the type of person that accepts everyone, you could be helping the attacker to attack somebody else. So I think all of these things, it's about doing a little bit, but doing it regularly and on an ongoing basis, because these are all the angles that work very, very well. And we see it happening across every single sector. It's not just finance and banking and government and the high ticket value items, but across every industry, we see this happening. And as more and more systems are connected, and as we have more reliance on the digital infrastructure, the impact of these downtimes is so much greater. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time and attention.